is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Paul.
Oh, now?
Now.
Golly. So I started the show a second ago, and then we weren't started. Are Smokey's headsets not plugged in? Because usually that's how I hear the open.
So I thought I plugged them in correctly, but we're definitely going to need to check those again after this morning.
Absolutely, because Smokey, his headsets blare like crazy. And that's what I usually use.
Yes.
And I just had to get a Paul. We're on the air. So, I'm a little cattywampus today.
It happens. Yes.
It happens. And I'll just say, without giving you details, you ever get really mad about something for 15 minutes and then it works itself out and then your body is trying to readjust to not being mad anymore?
All the time. I actually had an incident happen the other night, and I got to miss the national championship in a similar situation. So,
okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you understand.
I do.
And, I was really mad for 15 minutes. You were here. You saw it. I wasn't mad at you, but I was really mad. And then, now I'm not. But, my body still feels.
There's a whole process you're going through.
I feel like my body feels mad. My brain doesn't feel mad. But, my chest and shoulders and everything, is still in that, I'm mad thing.
Yeah.
So, I'm a little cattywampus right now. So, but let's just jump right into it. Coach Cal's about to do his opening press conference in Arkansas. And that means Kentucky. The opening is going to be much talked about. Now, there have been reports that Scott Drew was on a plane from Waco to Lexington, and there's media at the airport. Garrett, do you have the tweet?
Let me pull this up.
Go ahead and pull it up.
Let me get here, and boom.
Now, this is not definitive.
No.
But you see here, this is Scott Drew and Eric Shiro from Alliance Bank, one of our great sponsors, by the way. So a little extra plug for Alliance Bank. This is Eric Shiro, who is the chief cook and bottle washer over there at the bank. And he's the man over there. One of the biggest Baylor basketball boosters that there is, one of the biggest supporters of Scott Drew that there is. And they're eating lunch at a local place called Mi Casita today. And that, I would assume they're actually still there because he tweeted this out, right at noon. So they're probably
they would just be wrapping up.
They might just be wrapping up. Of course, when you're the boss of the bank and the boss of the basketball program, you're not having to punch the clock quite as much.
No.
I'm just, and I'm not saying that Eric doesn't or Scott doesn't. I just think that, you have
I think they've earned an extended lunch if they choose.
Yes, exactly. And this is not only important business for Alliance Bank. No, this is important business
Waco.
For the city. This is a huge deal for the city. So I'm sure that we can the city fathers can get together and be like, listen, you can take a 90-minute lunch. 2 hours.
Make it work.
Get it done. So, no. So that is Scott Drew eating lunch today in Waco, wearing a Baylor shirt with a booster. Now, this could all be for naught, right? This could be him taking a picture and telling Eric, who's been a fantastic supporter of Scott Drew and Baylor men's basketball for a very long time. This is not just a new, he did not just come along and start supporting the program once they started winning.
No, he's been here.
No, he's been from the jump. It's Eric Shiro's been a big supporter of Scott Drew, a Scott Drew fan, and a friend of his. So I don't think that Scott Drew's the kind of guy who would post a picture like that.
No.
And then leave. I think this is the first chapter of a short story that ends with Scott Drew stays in Waco.
Well, I think in general, Scott's not he's not one of these guys who constantly is on social media like a Lane Kiffin. So when you see something out there, I think there's more substance to it than guessing behind it. And also, I just feel like he's not going to put something out there. I feel like, okay, so when all this came down and all the coaches, Nate Oates, and everybody's jumping out there and putting out their messages saying we're staying put, and Scott didn't do that, that's kind of not that's not how he operates. So kind of seeing this tweet, if you read between the lines and you if you look at this from how we view Scott Drew and his perspective on life, I kind of look at that as that's probably subliminal saying I'm staying, and let it be. But obviously, we still got to wait for something official. But I don't think he would put something out there like that in that context if he was leaving for Lexington anytime soon.
Yeah. I mean, no better friend and supporter than Eric Shiro and Alliance Bank. They're not going to support him in Lexington, Kentucky.
Not at all. Not 1 cent, not one bit.
They don't have a branch there.
No. Moral support, which one do you see well, but no, not like that.
No, absolutely not. And again, let's just go. I'm going to peruse Coach Drew's Twitter here. So he's got a pinned tweet of his book from 2 years ago.
Okay.
Then a couple days ago, he saw Royce O'Neal and Ish Wainwright when he was in Phoenix. And then he was at Coaches versus Kids, like some of the stuff from the Final Four that he's got. His stuff is not, there's no.
It's like program related.
Yeah, there's nothing here that is like, and it's not like Lane Kiffin, honestly. If he got fired at Ole Miss, I would hire him as our social media coordinator in a second.
Yeah. He could teach a whole college course on it.
Yeah, he could. Is Lane on TikTok?
I wouldn't doubt it. I haven't seen him on there, but I would definitely could see him on there.
Yeah. Emery says yes, he's on TikTok.
All right, then he's there. Of course he is.
Emery, are you a TikToker?
Occasionally.
Okay. I just see Emery doing the neon moon dance.
He's getting down with the Jabberwockies again.
I mean, he did. He was fired up to see the Jabberwockies.
Man.
He was. We were in Vegas. I mean, he sprinted up the escalator.
It was like me seeing Trey. He just bolted.
Yeah. He's like, oh, man, Jabberwockies.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I wonder, is it just the Jabberwockies or is it everyone that's on America's Got Talent?
Well, I first saw them on MTV's America's Best Dance Crew.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
He's an old school Jabberwocky.
Yeah. I wonder, could Emery be talked into being in a dance crew?
Oh, dude, I think so. I don't even think you would have to really put much effort into it. Just invite him.
In high school, I was a part of the dance crew.
See?
What? They have
There it is.
Hold on. Come over here. Come over here. Hold on.
Let me fix this.
Hold on. Emery, for those of you who didn't hear him shouting from across the room, Emery, who's here on the mic now,
I know. Hang on. Give me
hold
one
on,
of this.
yeah, was part of a dance crew in Oklahoma in high school. So look, not to say, I'm not trying to prejudice people against the state of Oklahoma, which, as you know, I do quite often. But, but I did not think that Oklahoma was a place that was awash in dance crews.
Well, it wasn't necessarily. So it was with the school.
Okay. The
So-
school had a dance crew or a
Yeah,
dance
so-
team?
Well,
Were you
it was
twirling batons or anything?
No.
Okay.
I wasn't a part of any of that. But,
Okay.
it was a dance crew, and we would perform at a few of the assemblies and stuff like that to get
Okay.
everybody going.
Like a hype team.
Yeah,
like
kind of. It was.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't know, because it was just a bunch of the football players.
Yeah.
And so we were just because we had to take dance class in high school. We didn't have to. Our coach wanted us to.
Oh, for agility and
Yeah.
stuff. Okay.
And so we did that, and then we were just
And you took to it.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay,
I mean, I've always kind of been a boogier myself.
Okay.
So.
Can you just we don't really have the space for you to do the whole thing here, but can you just do the thing?
Get it.
You know, what about the Carlton?
Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. There we go. All right. Okay. I can see it now. I can see it. All right. There we go. All right. Go sit back down.
Oh, my God.
This made my day. Holy cow. Oh, wow. So, but yeah, you know what's funny? Here's the thing to go back and to hopefully get that image out of your minds. But Garrett, one of the things I saw was there was a guy who commented on Coach Drew's tweet of, hey, we've got a lot of great Mexican restaurants here in Lexington.
Oh, no.
Okay,
Just stop.
here's the deal.
Hell
Just
no.
stop. I'm sorry. Look, they might be good Mexican restaurants.
No.
But here's the deal. In the states that used to be Mexico, namely
Yes.
Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California, the Mexican food is better because, again, we were Mexico.
Yes.
Where
It's
I'm
the damn
standing,
homeland.
where we're in right now and broadcasting from, was before the 1830s Mexico. Kentucky was never Mexico.
Never
Mexico.
Not remotely close.
This was, and maybe even to some people still in Mexico, still is Mexico. I don't know.
Should be.
They might think they'll get it back one day. I don't know. But who knows what's going to happen in the future. But there's again, if your pitch to Scott Drew about Lexington is the Mexican places, you're gone.
No, I mean, in Louisville, I had an opportunity to eat a bunch of different foods there. Lexington, we just drove through, but Mexican wasn't even something you went to regularly. They didn't even have a bunch of restaurants. The best food there in Kentucky that we came across was chicken and stuff, which would make sense, obviously KFC. Yeah. But I don't relate Mexican food in Kentucky at all. That makes no sense to me.
And also, you're not going to get Scott Drew on the draw of the whiskey. So
no, he's not drinking.
0 for 2 on those things. Probably 0 for 3 on the barbecue as well. I'll just tell you, I've never had Kentucky barbecue, but I've never heard anybody brag about Kentucky barbecue.
No.
I'm sure they're fine with it. But let's be honest.
Yeah.
So again, if you're going to do that, so I feel like I need to put this tweet in the chat so that people come in and see it.
But no, I mean, I think if you're going to sell Kentucky, you sell Kentucky on the brand. You sell Kentucky on being the mecca of college basketball, being the head of Big Blue Nation and all the things that goes into that. You sell Kentucky on we are a basketball school, which I mean that's debatable now. But there's no way you're getting him on anything other than that. And honestly, I doubt you get him at all.
Yeah. So there was a flight tail number thing. Matt Jones tweeted out from Waco to Lexington.
Yep.
Well, I know that we know that Scott is not on that flight.
Correct.
Which is presumably, look, it's either he's saying his goodbyes and getting another one. Usually when that happens, they make the deal and they go back and they announce it. He's not on that plane.
Nope.
Mitch Barnhart. Now, look, we don't even know if Mitch Barnhart's on that plane. There could be some other person going from Waco to Lexington.
Just randomly.
But if that is Kentucky's plane, here's what I would assume that story is. Mitch Barnhart came here, talked to Scott, and then left. We don't know what the answer was, but he's going back to Kentucky. But I can tell you right now that Scott Drew is in Waco.
Yes.
So this whole he's in Lexington and all that, that's not true. He's not there. He's here right now.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean he's not going to be, but I do feel like we're going to get some clarity on this really soon. And that's either going to be Scott Drew is staying at Waco through some sort of announcement, which I think that's what this was.
Right, yeah.
I'm really leaning towards that because, again, this is not someone who has to constantly reiterate things. Like when he says things, he means them. Or we'll hear that, Scott Drew is from a media source like Jeff Goodman or someone like that. Scott Drew has turned down Kentucky and that now they're turning their attention to Billy Donovan or T.J. Altenberger or whoever.
Yeah, this is also
Mick Cronin. I don't know.
Yeah, this is a situation where Kentucky wants to get this done fast, right? You want to act fast. The portal is already going insane right now. So you want to get out ahead of this as quick as you can. I don't see this, whether Scott Drew takes it or not, lingering. I think Kentucky's going to have an idea of who their coach is heading into the weekend. I just feel like that's a timetable they would like to get it solidified right now because for Kentucky to be open that long would be something I don't know that we've seen. It's weird that a job as coveted as Kentucky is still kind of in limbo with people even considering taking it at this. I don't know. That's just kind of. I never thought we would be at that point.
No, I never thought you'd see a Kentucky coach leave willingly
And go to Arkansas.
And
what the hell?
It's less willingly than normally willingly.
Yeah.
But it's willingly. It's a mutual parting of the ways in the absolute exact definition of that term. Right? It both of them agreed, all right, Cal even said it, they need a new voice and they need to move on. So, and look, again, we don't know anything for a fact right now.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you what I know about the man. And I think I know him pretty well. I've known him for a long time. I do consider him a friend. And that's not the case for every coach I've ever covered.
Right, no.
I wouldn't say, we're friends with Phil Bennett. I wouldn't say we're friends with Kendall Briles. Like, not that we're, but like that's.
There's a handful that you
Yeah, there's like a handful. Like, and I would say that the ones I consider friends are mostly Scott Drew people.
Right.
Like
that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, because that's just how they are. Like,
yeah, they're friendly people.
You can't be not for like Jerome Tang. I consider a friend, and Paul Mills and those guys, and John Jacobs for sure. Like, I consider those guys friends. But I don't like so. You'd like to think you know people, but again, you're talking about life-changing money and a chance to be at one of there's 4 programs, I think, and then like maybe a 5th if you want to still count UCLA in this, but I don't.
That's grabbing straws, I think, at this point.
But Duke, Kansas, North Carolina, Kentucky.
Yeah.
They call, you answer. You don't necessarily say yes, but if they call, you got to at least hear them out.
Yeah.
So
I think you could probably even throw UConn into that.
I think so, yes.
Where they're always debatable. But no, I mean, there are a handful. I think you definitely seriously give that a listen. Now, my thing is, this has been brought up, and I know Craig has brought it up multiple times at this point, but if Scott does elect to turn this down, then, I mean, does that pretty much ink it in stone that he's a lifer here? Like, I don't see how that would work.
Again, unless one of those other 4 jobs calls him.
Right.
Who's he going to pick up the phone for? I do think that, like, if Bill Self retired and they called Scott Drew, he would listen to that one too.
Yeah. I think he would be more, and maybe this is just me, but I feel like he would be more inclined to take a blue blood job outside of the Big 12 than he would to stay inside, just because he's already talked about he doesn't like playing his former coaches.
I mean, that's not going to solve. Going to Kentucky would solve not having to play against his guys anymore.
You would see him tournament time, preseason, and then he probably wouldn't schedule him preseason.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, it's very interesting that this has all kind of come down and how. But again, I'll just tell you, from what I know of the man, Scott Drew is not going to tease people at all. That's not what he does.
No.
Look at his Twitter feed. It's promoting the program.
He doesn't want attention either. He's like
having lunch with a big supporter of the program. I mean, like, hey, let's get this picture out real quick.
Yeah. Let's just end all this.
By the way, I'm going to Kentucky. Sorry, I love you. Thanks for everything. Bye. All right, I'll have the enchiladas. Yes. You know what? This one's on me today, Eric.
I got you.
I got you today.
Get the blue bills.
Says I just dropped some back. No, I don't think he's going to do that. That's just not in his character. So I think if you're Baylor fans, you can't breathe the whole sigh of relief yet. But I do think that this makes the sea less choppy.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now you should feel pretty good about where you're at. I mean, everybody's going to be nervous until the finality of it comes out, but I think given everything that we've seen today, I would feel pretty good if I was a Baylor fan that Scott Drew is going to stay pat. But, I mean, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, let's take a break right here. Let's come back and let's talk honest next steps for Kentucky.
Okay.
If Scott Drew says no. If that's indeed what has happened here. Honest next steps for Kentucky because their number one guy might have told them no. Like, what is the next path here for one of the premier jobs and maybe debatably the most high-pressure job.
Right.
I do, like, that, Jack and I, we had this discussion.
Yeah.
Look, Duke is maybe as high profile but a little bit less pressure. Because it's a smaller school that
and you've had one coach who's
you have one coach
and
then
there.
Yeah, one coach and now the guy who took over was one of his better player. That. So you're kind of keeping it in the family. Kansas, that's a high pressure job, but their fans know basketball so well. And I'm not just saying that because I'm married to one, but they really do collectively understand the sport really well. So they don't get it was between 2008 and 2022 when they won national championships. At any time did you hear Kansas fans going, well, I guess Bill Self's not the guy?
No, not at all. No. They were always in the mix.
They understood what was going on. And then North Carolina is maybe the most like Kentucky.
Yeah.
But they also like to keep it in the family of.
Yeah, they're always hiring.
Almost like, they're hiring. They're like Michigan, where
Yeah.
most of the time they're going to hire alums. When we come back, who could be next for Kentucky if Scott Drew, in fact, has said no? That's all coming up. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back. Paul Catalina, G-Money, Garrett Ross. I think we need to make an Instagram for you that is G-Money.
We can
or
run
do
with
you
it.
need to change your Instagram to Garrett? Like, the G in Garrett needs to be somehow,
Something.
or the S's in Ross need
Yeah,
to
we'll
be
just put the dollar sign with that. And run
dollar
with it.
signs.
Yeah.
There we go. I think that'll work. I think that'll work better. You don't have to change your
It'll
your
flow.
name.
It'll flow, yeah.
Yeah. The display name can be,
Yeah.
that. But, yeah. So, all right. So, if you're Kentucky, where do you go from here? Because I know that they think it's Scott Drew or Dan Hurley or, whoever. I don't think Dan Hurley's coming. I don't think
No.
that's going to happen. By the way, Troy Aikman sent this out last night just an interview about Dan Hurley and how he recruits his team. And he said, look, if you've been on 7 travel ball teams and you've transferred 3 times and you haven't really made your wave yet, we talked about it yesterday about Bear Alexander.
Yes.
He's like, I'm not touching you.
I wish more coaches would come out and say that.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of them feel that. To me, you just can't. You can't. To me, that tells me that I don't want to invest time in you because how seriously are you taking this?
Yeah.
Because to me, you've already had one foot out the door everywhere you've been. I just don't know if that would translate, and I don't necessarily think I would want that around my team or in my locker room. And I'm not taking away from any players who want to leave, but if you're continually doing this on a regular basis like that, I think there's a bigger issue there that needs to be identified.
Yeah.
So I wish more people would actually come out. I'm all on board with him saying that.
Well, I loved it. Like, I wish more coaches need to say, like,
Yes,
look,
absolutely do.
Find a place and stick to it. Look, if you want to change, that's fine, but don't change too much.
No.
Change for valid reasons.
Yes.
And I also think that if you're good enough, that's where, I get Riley Leonard leaving Duke and going to Notre Dame.
Right.
Sam Hartman, the same thing, because you have a chance to do things at Notre Dame that you probably don't at Duke. Financially, too.
Right.
But I don't think, with Sam Hartman and with Riley Leonard, it was about NIL, and it was also about being able to do things that you're probably not going to do at Duke.
Yeah.
Especially with Mike Elko gone, Riley Leonard now has kind of an opening to improve his spot in the draft and maybe win some bigger games than he would at Duke, even though Duke's been good. And I'm a big advocate of Manny Diaz getting another shot at being a head coach. I think he'll do fine there, but it's still Duke compared to Notre Dame. I get it.
Right.
I get those things. But if I'm going to go from Georgia to USC just for the extra $50,000 or whatever number they can put on it,
Yeah,
man,
that's
if you're
not-
good enough, that's why when everybody talked about Arch Manning, it's like, no, NIL is going to be the same for Arch Manning. If he went, honestly, if he went to UMHB, he'd still get the same NIL
Right.
because his name is Arch Manning.
Yes.
If he just decided, listen, big-time college football is not for me, I'm going to go play at Division III, it would still be the same.
Yep.
It would still be the same because he's Arch Manning. The outside NIL. But if he went to LSU, to Texas, to wherever, Like all that difference is kind of negligible in the long run. Like
you're going to get similar packages in all of those places.
Look, like I can tell you when it came down to Cam Ward of Miami and FSU, the dollar amount might have been a little bit more at Miami and that, but it wasn't enough to where you'd be like, well, I'm going to go here and not there because it's straight about money. It's got to be about more than that.
Other factor.
And that's what I think that's what a lot of the smarter guys will realize eventually is like, if you keep going, well, this place is giving me $100,000, but if I go to this place, they'll give me 125, and then the next year I can get up to 175. Then I'm going to go there. All right, and that's great. That's $75,000 more dollars that you made, but also your college career ends and it ends.
I also think it makes a difference too with if you're a player when you move. Like, all right, say you've gone to 3 different schools, but every school you've gone to, you've made a step up and you're constantly climbing and elevating. I think that's different than going to a school where it's pretty much the same and you're just doing it for the perks or the benefits. But like if you're Jared first and you've gone to Florida State and then you went to, say he left Florida State after 1 year and went to, I don't know, freaking Bama or something, because there's not many other options or step ups there. That's different. But I just jumping from Power 5 brand program to Power 5 brand program, to me, is not benefiting you in the long run. Mm-hmm. So I
don't. So, and I saw that. But they're not going to
Cam Ward's a perfect example. Everywhere Cam Ward has gone, he's transferred and made a step up. He went from a Cardinal Word, Washington State, to now Miami. Like, I don't have a problem with that. But it's the parallel moves that you got to start scratching your head saying, what is this really about, in my opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that Kentucky needs to, like, again, if Scott Drew said no and there's tweets that, like, he's struggling with the decision, I don't think he's struggling. No. I think he's made the decision. We'll see. And I'm willing. Look, I am absolutely willing to be wrong.
Yeah,
like, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But
good luck to him.
I just feel like I know a little bit. So I think they need to go after some, like, is there somebody like a Drew out there that's big enough for Kentucky fans to feed them? I don't know. Like, Billy Donovan makes a lot of sense, but honestly, like, if you're Billy Donovan and the Bulls aren't going to fire you,
right?
Would you really want to get back into basketball the way it is now? He's been out for over a decade.
No, I wouldn't. I think that would. If I'm Billy Donovan, I would try to find, even if I had to step down from a head coaching position to take an assistant job or an analyst role with the NBA, I would rather do that than jump into a market in a landscape that has completely shifted. You have no control over. I'm staying pat where there's actually structure around me if I'm Billy Donovan.
Yeah. So, and look, they have, they're not great. They're in the play-in tournament.
Right.
But if the Bulls are happy with that, then I don't know why you'd leave.
Yeah.
It's coaching in the pros is right now an infinitely easier job than being a college coach. And it's still a really hard job. That just tells you how hard it is to be a college coach right now because of the ever-moving bullseyes you have to hit. Look, I do think they need to consider people like Mick Cronin. I do think they need to consider TJ Otzelberger. Look, here's the thing about Drew. He was the guy who checked all the boxes, and apparently, and I don't know this to be completely true, his buyout is a lot lower than everybody else's, but we don't know that because Baylor never releases that information. So if his buyout's lower and you can get him there and he can help you win again, like, it's an easy sell to your fans. But the bottom line is, that was probably their best case financial scenario with Scott Drew, where you had Coach Cal walk out on his own, so you don't have to pay him a buyout. Nobody has to pay a buyout in that situation. And there's a lower buyout on that coach's end on the other side. But when it comes to Scott Drew saying no, now you're getting to a point of, all right, well, now a buyout's probably coming from somewhere. Like a sizable buyout's probably coming if you're trying to do that. And I would think that UConn and Dan Hurley's buyout has got to be –
oh, it's got to be significant.
After last year, it had to be pretty significant. And that's not even to say they don't renegotiate during this time because Kentucky is sniffing around. So
I know with this Kentucky job, it's to me, it's like Texas in football, right? Like you're gonna aim big. You're gonna try to go after somebody who's got championships. So to me, that makes this pool even more difficult. This shrinking up. So would a guy like a Brad Underwood, who even though he doesn't have championships, have been really successful at every level he's coached at, would that do anything? Or is this where if you don't have a championship and you don't have a fully recognizable personality or face in multiple living rooms across the nation, that you're just kind of out with us?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, and again, you can't just let the fans demand who to hire, because also if you listen to half the fans on social media, they don't want Scott Drew's not even good enough for that.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, no, it's got to be Danny Hurley. Well, all right. I mean, like, they're a bigger dynasty than you right now.
Yeah, absolutely are.
Right now, like, UConn's won way more than you have and anyone else since 1994 or 5, like whenever that was, you know, since the 90s. So let's not pretend. So I know, like, they've thrown around Bruce Pearl's name. Bruce Pearl's 64.
And Bruce Pearl, like, I mean, he would take it, but, like, what has he ever really done? No. Like, I mean, I know he's always in the mix, but it's like he always kind of finds a way to get ousted in the tournament once it gets that's one where I would kind of be hesitant on. Trying to think who would you make a run at Rick? Like, Rick Barnes is kind of the same way, though. I mean, he gets close, but he doesn't really do much. He's older. Like, that's my thing. Are they trying to aim younger here? And because Cal was there for 15 years, are you trying to get somebody young who can come in and stay for a while? Sean Miller's young. Will Wade, I mean, he's out there. He's young. He can win. I think both of those two would be interesting.
Yeah.
But there's nobody, like, just jumping off the –
Okay. Brian Polkamp on the chat room says, to be honest, I don't even want Scott Drew and I'm a UK fan.
Okay.
I mean, look, I think you're crazy not to want him if you're anywhere. He's a really good coach. Yeah. But look, I get it. But, like, but look, Brian, like, he's like, well, Dickie V said this, and he's in Lexington and all this. So I just put the tweet up, and he's like, they could be messing with people. I'm going to tell you, Brian, you're probably new to the room here. Welcome aboard. Happy to have anybody from anywhere watching the show anytime you do. Scott Drew does not mess with people.
No, he really doesn't. Like, we would not BS you on that. I swear we would
like,
not.
He does not mess with people. It's not in his nature. Alan, don't kick people out. Do not do that.
Don't do that.
We are welcoming to everybody.
Everybody, come on.
We are welcoming to everybody.
All opinions.
All opinions, except the wrong ones.
Except Florida Gator fans.
Except that one, yeah. I'll even take them. So, yeah. Yeah, so, you know, yes, Conundrum and Oak, you very well be there next has basketball. I'm just telling you that 90 minutes ago, he posted a picture eating lunch with a booster here in Waco. Like,
he was not on a plane.
He was not on a plane to Lexington. He's not in Lexington. He's here. Yeah. Brian agrees. No Florida fans.
Thank you. All right, Brian.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, Scott, he's not going to, like, he might, again, and he might take it.
Yes.
I'm not telling you he's not. But I'm telling you right now, if you're listening to anybody that's telling you he's in Lexington, en route to Lexington, interviewing in Lexington, eating lunch in Lexington, he's not.
Right here. He's not.
He's in Hewitt, Texas, at Mi Casita.
And right now he might be at Baylor.
Maybe he's back at Baylor. I don't know. That's 90 minutes ago. Doesn't take that long to eat there.
No, it's about a 10-minute drive.
Yeah. So that, like, yeah. I mean, again, you could say he's saying goodbye or whatever. Again, he would not tweet that.
But that doesn't look like the face of somebody saying goodbye. Yeah. Like that doesn't look like a conversation of guys parting ways, in my opinion.
So I'm just saying that this is what the evidence tells me based on everything I know about him for knowing him since 2005.
Right.
So I've known him since 2005. I've never known him to do anything duplicitous. I've never known him to do anything that's like, haha, messing with you. Like,
no, it's straightforward.
He doesn't even put out April Fool's tweets. Like, he's not that guy.
He dislikes April Fool's.
And he's like, he's like a total corny dad joke guy. Yes. Like, that's what he is. And look, Yeah, I'm sure he's. And look, I would struggle with the decision too. If Kentucky called me up and said,
Man,
you want to be the head basketball coach? I'd be like, golly, might have to do that.
I mean,
but
I really do. I honestly think the Foster Pavilion is saving Baylor.
I think Foster Pavilion saves Baylor there. If that had not happened,
he'd be gone.
Like, you know, we'd probably be over there helping him move furniture. Because again, this guy's a very frugal millionaire. Yes. He'd have, like, you'd see, like, players, like, helping him lift up
all the former players out there, all shedding tears.
Yeah. So, no. Look, there are just – there's too much evidence for me that he's staying to say that, like, because, again, especially if that flight that somebody tagged from Lexington to Waco is Mitch Barnhart leaving without him, to me, I would think that means he said no, because usually you say yes, you get on the plane and you go.
I mean, yeah, but I also think maybe we would have already heard something because Barnhart would be in I mean, would you think we would already have heard something?
Yeah. Well, I think because we
Kentucky,
would know that
that's
Scott
what I'm saying.
Drew's on the plane.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. If the media's there and he's going to get off the plane.
Then you're definitely going to see it.
You're definitely going to see it. So, again, he's not in Lexington. He's not been to Lexington. Unless that happened a few days ago.
Right.
We just didn't know about it. But, look, I can tell you this. When Matt Rule went to Nebraska because they didn't want him to know he was interviewing, he didn't fly into Lincoln. He flew into somewhere else, and then they picked him up and drove him there.
That's probably the smartest way to do it now.
Yeah. So, again, but Scott Drew's not going anywhere today because he's eating lunch. So, I'm just telling you the facts. And I know that there's a lot of, like, nonsense stories going on around it. Scott Drew is eating lunch with a booster. Like, is that a supporter, a big, like, he's a longtime supporter of the Baylor basketball program, Eric Shiro. So, all right, let's take one more break. We'll come back. We'll finish up our talk about Kentucky. This show is all Kentucky today and what they should do. We'll throw out some other names. I think. And I'll say this one. Sean Miller bears some consideration.
He's a good coach, man.
Yeah, he had a bad year this last year, which kind of takes him out of it, but they had a lot of injuries. But let's talk about Sean Miller next. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back. Garrett, I have some elite level trolling from Chip Gaines.
Oh, okay.
Emory just called our attention to this. That people need to see this. I don't care that the bad word is even on the screen. I don't.
Hey, it's you too, buddy.
We're just going to do it.
Let me get it.
We're just going to do it. But this is, well, I mean, I guess he doesn't. Let me know when you're ready for it. But right, Chip Gaines has been going back and forth with Kentucky fans all day long, which is really great. Hold on, I got to block that guy. You know, like, since the Elon took over Twitter, I get a lot of weird suggested follows based on nothing.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to follow Vivek Ramaswamy. What do you think I'm here for?
My thing is going through and just reporting things as just some nonsense.
I just block and report and block and report and Yeah.
All right, here we go with some trolling from Chip.
Okay, so Coach T at Time Down 23 says, who the F is Chip Gaines, with a laughing emoji. And Chip Gaines responds, do you kiss your mom with that mouth? Ask her who I am, she'll know. Which works on several levels.
Yes.
First of all, his mom probably watches Fixer Upper. Let's just say
More
that.
than likely.
And then there's the other,
Yes.
part of it.
So
Elite level trolling.
yeah, I've never really been into them, but I'm definitely gained some respect for Chip.
Listen.
That is hilarious.
That is absolutely.
I'm all for that.
Yeah. Absolutely hilarious. Chip, tip of the cap to you today, sir. That is elite level trolling and S-talk. Really, really appreciate it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So, I do wonder, like, what Kentucky does.
Yeah.
And I'm going to liken this to Mac Brown leaving at Texas.
It's eerily similar.
Because if you don't remember, and I'll refresh your memory, chat, and people watching. When Mac Brown left, if you asked Texas fans' list was Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher, who had just won the national title at a place who's won more national titles recently than Texas. Just throwing that out there. But
They have.
Just won the national title. And then it was Jim Mora Jr., who I'm sure they're thrilled they didn't get.
Yeah.
But like Jim Mora Jr., and then I can't remember who the other one was. But like they thought they were going to get Nick Saban. And the message board nonsense was like, well, he's always loved Austin. Miss Terry has a house
Loves
on
the
Lake
house.
Travis
Yeah.
and all this. And, she was a realtor, right? She's a realtor or something like that. She's already applied. Like I have somebody in the, connected that she's already applied for her license in Texas.
Yeah.
And, all like whatever. Oh yeah, Art. I forgot about.
I was wondering. I was like, what?
I forgot about the one. Art Briles.
Art was number one.
Art was number one. Like it was Nick Saban, and then it was Nick Saban. It was Art Briles.
Yeah.
And Jimbo Fisher. And yes, thank you, Paxton. How can I forget that? Considering I lived it in Phoenix, Arizona, when it was going on. But they went through all this, and then they got Charlie Strong, and Charlie Strong was not the right guy for Texas.
He's a good coach. He was a good coach, though.
He was successful at Louisville, but it was not sometimes because you're a big brand, you think you can just be like, oh, we're going to call this person.
Right, yeah.
We'll get this guy and it'll be perfect and it'll work because we are who we are. I worry that Kentucky fans are a little bit like those Texas fans right now where they're like, well, we can get anybody we want. We want this guy, and this guy. When you're also demanding things that, one, aren't going to happen, and two, may not be right. It may not be the right fit. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes just let the AD do their work. And I do think that the previous AD administration that was pre-Del Conte at Texas made that decision because they're like, well, we have to call these people. We have to do this. And then they just wasted time. Now, they could have had Art Briles, but his condition was, I'm not going to interview for this job because you have to offer it to me.
Yeah.
Because if I interview and you don't hire me, then I've lost, I'm going to have to leave Baylor in a year anyway when another job comes up because I will have lost any support I have there.
Right.
Which makes a ton of sense. A ton of sense.
I also think programs like that, it's weird where sometimes what's best for you is just getting somebody kind of off the radar, bringing them in, because when you go out and you constantly seek names, how many times has a program gone out and hired a coach who everybody loves? I think Louisville's a prime example in football with Brom. And it's so far with the small sample size we see, it's shown that it could be successful, but that's that's a one-off. More than likely, if you go out and get a coach who everybody wants, it's not going to work. So you got to be careful with that. So I think like if you kind of just sit back and put things in perspective, and you bring somebody in and not rush them, let them have time to work with, even if it's not a flashy name, they could go on. Drew was a prime example. Nobody even knew who the hell he was.
Yeah.
You give him time to build it. Dabo, like you gave Dabo time to build Clemson up.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's somebody that is an obscure coach that you don't think would work, and you bring them in, you give them time, and just cut them loose, and that's ultimately the best fit for you than somebody who's a name brand.
Yeah, and this is where I'm going to stump for Sean Miller. Sean Miller is not in Arizona because of
Adidas.
Yes, and DeAndre Ayton and all that stuff. Okay. Now let's fast forward to now where none of that matters.
Kind of legal. Yeah.
None of it matters anymore. The Adidas scandal brought out the reverse of what they wanted to happen.
Yep.
So the Adidas thing actually has made all the things that were going on with Adidas legal and not the opposite.
Yeah.
The NCAA got an outcome they wanted, and then it worked in reverse. So because of that, you can, forget about Sean Miller and like all the connotations. Because look, believe me, there's a lot of schools that get caught up in any kind of scandal when it comes to college basketball. That one just was shoddily handled by the bagmen.
Yeah.
That's it. And Sean Miller's won. He wanted Arizona. He wanted Arizona at a high level. He was probably about to break through before that all went down. He's gone and won at Xavier, except for this year. I think Sean Miller's a great selection for them because he hasn't even hit his full potential yet. And you give him the assets that Kentucky has, I think he'll do well there.
No, he really would. I mean, Arizona had everything in place, pretty similar to what Kentucky has now, and he was able to have success there. Now you give him really all the resources you could ask for when it comes to NIL. You have a good fan base who's going to travel, who wants who is really invested in your program, and I think his personality is something that would resonate with the fan base more so than what you would get from Scott Drew, which is why I think you kind of see some pushback from the Kentucky fans on Scott Drew's name being mentioned anyway. But, yeah, I think everything kind of tracks there with Sean Miller. He's got everything you could ask for. He can win. He knows how to – obviously, if you go back to navigating with Adidas and everything, if you can do it off the books, you can do it on the books. So, that would be a good fit for them. And I'm kind of curious of – why his name isn't being thrown around more. Maybe it's just the lack of success this past year is hindering him. But if you look at the overall track record, I mean, he's a proven winner wherever he's been.
Was he Adidas or is it just the DeAndre Ayton thing? I
thought it was Adidas and DeAndre Ayton.
But they're at Nike school right now.
But
Does that happen after?
I thought it happened. I'll have to look at that switch.
He's not, regardless. Regardless of what the details are, he's not at Arizona, not because he wasn't winning, but because of
it was off the court issues.
All of those kind of things.
Right.
All of them legal now.
Correct.
All of them legal. So whatever it is. So I just think that, we think here collectively in the room that Scott Drew is staying.
Correct.
And that's not just delusion because we've known him and we do that. I just don't think he's tweeting out that picture if he's staying.
No. So this is funny too. So Matt Jones of Kentucky Sports Radio has a tweet out, the current Google reviews of the Mexican restaurant in Waco. So they're like blowing it up. Everybody's blowing it up looking for it.
Yeah. So, no.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So some people say that they got on the phone, couldn't tell if Scott was there. Golly. So, but yeah, I think he's going to stay.
I think so too.
Stay. But we'll see. I mean, again, but we're going to end early because I think I've said all I can say on this before I have to talk about it for 3 more hours.
3 more hours. Yeah.
So that's going to do it for us. Tomorrow, Steven Simcox is here. Also, tomorrow we're going to do something, Garrett. We were going to do it today, but I need Steven here for this because he's the perfect co-host to help me with this.
Okay.
We are going to do what we call sponsor recruiting.
Oh.
So I've come across, you and I talked about this last week, a sponsor that speaks to my very soul.
Yes, it does.
And I think they're missing an opportunity to partner with me who can get their message out better than maybe anybody.
Yeah, you are tailored for this.
Yes, I often advocate for their products. I support their mission completely, and we are going to do that. We're going to do some sponsor recruiting tomorrow, and hopefully I can convince somebody on the chat to go buy one. And then if they buy one, say I did this because your future spokesperson told me to do this, and I trust him implicitly, and he's very passionate about your cause. That's what I would like to see. That's what I'd like. If I can convince someone to do it, I think it's just one person. One person.
All you do, if you're in the chat and you want improved hygiene, holler at Paul.
Yes, that's what we're going to do. Your life, I promise you, your life will be better after this purchase.
Yes.
It will be changed in a way that you've not even understood, and it's such a simple thing. We'll do that tomorrow. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably